Welcome to Dark Truths, Religion Uncovered. Tonight, we're diving deep into the interplay between ancient scriptures and modern faiths. We'll explore a profound and often unsettling idea. What happens when God goes silent? Not because he's absent, but because his words have already been spoken and ignored. In the rich tapestry of ancient theology, the divine silence wasn't a sign of neglect. It was meaningful. It often followed warnings, echoing the heavy weight of rejection and forcing humanity to face the consequences of their choices. Think about the prophets of old. They weren't just lone voices in the wilderness. They were tireless messengers, urgently communicating God's words to his peoples. This wasn't because God enjoyed giving warnings. It was because the alternative, silence, was far more serious. The end of a prophet's voice, like Jeremiah's, wasn't a trivial matter. It signaled a time of reckoning. The prophet Amos even lamented a coming famine, not of bread, but of hearing the words of the Lord. This tells us something crucial. For the ancients, silence was the punishment. Fast forward to today. We live in a world that often misinterprets this silence. In our desperate search for answers, many modern believers panic when they don't hear God's voice. We see it as a sign of distance, failure, or even proof that he doesn't exist. We've come to expect a God who must continuously respond to our questions, calm our fears and clarify every doubt we have. But ancient wisdom offers a different perspective. Sometimes, divine silence is the most profound act of mercy. God gives warnings before he steps back. He offers truth before his voice recedes. When his words are overlooked, he might just let reality take center stage, teaching lessons that revelation alone could not. The struggle for modern belief often lies in this assumption, that God's communication should be constant and unbroken. Scripture, however, shows us a God who might withhold his voice when it's clear his messages are falling on deaf ears. Silence, in this context, isn't a retreat, it's an acknowledgement of our free will. When the people of Israel demanded a king, despite God's warnings about the dangers, he eventually fell silent and let them experience the consequences of that choice. When the Pharaoh's heart was hardened, God's voice receded, allowing history to unfold along a path shaped by human decisions. And when religious authorities rejected Jesus, he too stopped explaining himself. The truth had been presented. Silence was all that remained. Now, some contemporary views might paint this silence as cruel, but ancient theology sees it as a divine restraint, a profound respect for human choice. A silent God isn't one who continuously shouts into the void of our deafness. Instead, he creates space for the consequences of our decisions to play out naturally. This is where many modern religious ideas stumble. We often want a God who will intervene relentlessly, save us from our own poor choices, and override our ability to say no. Yet, ancient belief teaches that freedom includes the freedom to ignore God, and with it, the responsibility to face the reality that follows. So, silence shouldn't be mistaken for a lack of care. It is a powerful acknowledgement of our autonomy. This is a difficult teaching for modern religion, which often prefers a God who is easily marketed, managed, or even blamed. When God is silent, the responsibility shifts back to us. We are forced to ask ourselves, did we truly listen when he last spoke? The ancient faithful feared God's silence far more than they feared suffering. For them, silence meant a lost opportunity. The chance to connect with the divine was fading. In contrast, many of us today fear suffering way more, because it disrupts the comfortable lives we try to build. But consider this, silence also disrupts our certainty, an idol that modern belief holds very dear. Scripture doesn't promise us constant communication from God. It offers us truth, a truth that doesn't need to be repeated endlessly. It can be declared, it can be rejected, and then it can be withdrawn. The silence of God isn't emptiness. It is a yet profound judgment, and that can be deeply unsettling, because there's no one left to argue with. There's just the silence, standing as a daunting reality. Tonight's exploration reveals a heavy but essential truth. When God keeps speaking after his words have been ignored, his voice risks becoming mere noise. But when he falls silent, it is our own reality that must confront the truths we've chosen to neglect. As we conclude, I invite you to ponder this question. If God were to stop speaking tomorrow, would you take the time to reflect on everything he has already said? Thank you for joining us on Dark Truths, Religion Uncovered. We want to hear your thoughts. Does divine silence mean abandonment? Or is it the final echo of a truth we refuse to hear? Let us know in the comments. Your voice is a vital part of this conversation. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more deep dives into the complexities of faith.